President Trump and his administration does deserve a lot of credit for lowering inflation and holding it steady. But that doesn't bring prices down. And so gaslighting the people and trying to tell them that prices have come down is not helping. It's actually infuriating people, because people know what they're paying at the grocery store. They know what they're paying for their kids' clothes and school supplies. You don't gaslight them, you don't lecture them, and you don't deny what's happening.
That is, of course, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene on Sean Spicer's show yesterday, and the gap between her and Donald Trump appears to be growing by the day, because she's not just saying he's not doing enough on prices, she's saying he's gaslighting, he's lecturing. Effectively, she's saying he's lying about the situation. That seems like a nice step forward away from Donald Trump and towards the truth. What do you think?
I think this is really important, because now we're not just talking about Epstein or Israel or foreign policy. Now we're at the core of other Republicans, mind you, it's only a couple, but an important one, a really important one, starting to call him out on economic issues. Oh, that's important. So there's some interesting poll results that I want to tell you about as to who is more MAGA, Marjorie Taylor Greene or Trump. Jerome's. So interesting developments. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, well, you can't spell MAGA without Marjorie. Well, that probably doesn't work out, but it's closer than Donald.
Think about it.
It is closer. That's just linguistics. But anyway, he has been gaslighting people and he has been lying to people. She is right about that. He was doing it even earlier today when he posted on True Social, cost and inflation were far higher under the sleepy Joe Biden administration than they are now. In fact, costs under the Trump administration are tumbling down, helped greatly by gasoline and energy. Affordability is a lie when used by the Dems. It is a complete con job. Thanksgiving costs are 25% lower this year than last under Crooked Joe. We are the party of affordability. Which is weird, because just like 5 days ago, he was saying, I don't want to hear about affordability. Now he's scrambling to come up with a way to talk about being for affordability. There's a lot of lies there, obviously. The fact that gas prices have gone down significantly is just not true. In the last year, on average, nationally, it's gone down 1 cent a gallon. That's good, I guess. It's technically dropped, but not significantly. The Thanksgiving costs, again, that's already been a debunked thing about one particular Thanksgiving meal from one supplier that now has generics rather than name brand food and has significantly fewer items in it. It's not a general idea of how much your Thanksgiving is going to cost. So this is exactly the sort of gaslighting that Congresswoman Greene was talking about. And let's get to some of what she had to say about that. On Twitter, she said, inflation hit a 40-year record high of 9% under Biden. I give President Trump and his administration credit for bringing it down to 2.5%, but prices are still sky high and families are drowning in debt. Congress needs to get to work. The American people can no longer afford more excuses. Now, that's not accurate in a number of different ways. It's 2.7%, it's close to 2.5, but she is slightly off there. And also, it's not like it randomly got to 9% under Joe Biden. There was a little bit of historic context necessary there. And she's also like acting as if it was 9% for the 4 years of the Biden administration. And then Trump came in and took it from 9 down to 2.7. That's not what happened at all. I don't know if she knows that and is being dishonest or just doesn't know. But in any event, the headline inflation rate rose to 3% year over year. From 2.9% in August. So it actually ticked up very slightly from August to September. That's the highest level since January. And you also have particular product categories like beef and coffee that have experienced especially significant increases. The core rate, excluding food and energy, ticked down to 3% from 3.1%. So I think in both of those cases, it's relatively steady over the last month or so. And we're gonna talk later on the show about things like beef and food and coffee, what he might be trying to do now to get those prices down. But we already know that Americans are not happy about all this. We've been covering it on the network for a long time. The polls are going further and further away from Donald Trump on this topic. Over half, 55% of US adults see the economy as deteriorating under Trump's watch. That's according to a recent Economist YouGov poll. His net approval on inflation and the economy has swung from slightly positive immediately after the inauguration to sharply negative right now. And Monster.com did a survey that found that 95% of Americans say their paychecks have lagged behind the cost of living, with 94% specifically pointing to groceries as the fastest rising expense over the past year. And so I'm glad that Trump is now putting the word affordability in a True Social message, but let's also be clear, he wouldn't be doing that if we hadn't been criticizing him, and if Zoran Mandani hadn't made such a big deal out of it, and now perhaps because people like Marjorie Greene are putting pressure on him.
Yeah, so lots of things to go over here. First, look, gaslighting was, let's be honest, well, MAGA is not gonna agree, but the rest of us, was Trump and the Republicans 101 for the last decade. Everything was gaslighting. They're eating cats and dogs. Yeah, no, they are. Yeah, I mean, I could give you, the hurricane went that way. I could give you a million examples. Yeah. And they always all in unison gaslit. If Trump said something, then they all backed him and said, oh yeah, he's a model of health, he's 215 pounds. I mean, we can go on and on and on, right? He's never done anything wrong financially, never hired undocumented immigrants, although he hired them on every job and every project. Okay, that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is that Marjorie Taylor Greene is trying to end the gaslighting. Wow, that's a turn of events, right? And so, is that because, and mainstream media sometimes paints it this way, and it's very frustrating because it's almost like either they're totally clueless or they're doing some sort of weird propaganda. They're making it seem like she's defying Trump and hence defying MAGA and is less conservative now. That's not true at all. And so she right now introduced legislation to kill all H-1B visas. That is very conservative, right? And I don't agree with that. She hasn't moved at all on any of her positions on that stuff. She's moved on Israel. She didn't move on Epstein files. She was always for releasing it. Before she didn't talk much about Israel and generally supported them, and now is saying, why are we continuing to give them money? So a little bit of movement there, a little bit of movement on drug prices, but overall, it's not an anti-conservative position to be for lower drug prices. Both Democratic and Republican voters want lower drug prices. They want less war. They were all clear. So look, I asked this in a couple of different places, and I'm going to tell you something interesting that happened on X. But on TYT.com, we're asking you guys out of curiosity, what do you think? Now I get it, we're largely a progressive audience, right? Lots of independents on here, even in some conservatives as well. But on TYT.com, who do you think is more MAGA, more true to the MAGA positions? Donald Trump or Marjorie Taylor Greene? Because Trump's now more pro-war, she's anti-war, right? They wanted the Epstein files released, he doesn't want them released, and now look, you're seeing it there, right? Now that's a small sample size because we just started it and you can go vote TYT.com, that's open to everybody. Okay, but then I asked on X, and that's where it gets more interesting because there's a lot more MAGA guys on X, right? And a lot of them follow me, which is kind of an interesting phenomenon that's occurred, right? So I ask who's more MAGA, Trump or Marjorie Taylor Greene? First 4,000 votes, it's a landslide, 82-18 Marjorie Taylor Greene, okay? Then all of a sudden, tons of votes start coming in. Another 4,000 come in, all of a sudden it's 50-50. And then another 4,000 votes come in, and all of a sudden Trump's taking the lead 53-47. I don't know who's doing that or why they're doing that, right?
The red mirage.
But some late faction, either sent by someone or maybe organic, right? We don't know. All of a sudden, like, no. Trump is more MAGA, and I don't know what else it connects to, but they're trying to put that agenda forward. But on the policies, including this one, wait a minute, you ran on inflation and on affordability. That was your, even more than immigration, that was your #1 topic in the election. Now to say I don't want to hear about affordability is not a pro-MAGA position, at least based on how Trump ran in 2024. So I think she's more true MAGA, but it's fascinating that one person that is true MAGA has decided to become honest. I don't mean one person among the voters, I mean among the leadership, among politicians and media. And so, and if you're being honest, of course prices went up, right? Later in the show, we're gonna talk about JD Vance lying through his teeth. I mean, he's hilarious. He's talking about housing prices. Like, the housing prices only got up 1% under Trump. Under Biden, they went up. I'm waiting for this. I'm like, is he gonna deal with some fantastical number like 25%, which is gigantic and not true? He said 100%. All housing prices doubled in the 4 years under Biden. Like, so that's the old gaslighting, right? Just lie. And of all people, Marjorie Taylor Greene's like, no, I'm not gonna lie. And I'm gonna fight for the voters that we said we were gonna fight for.
Yeah, I'm just gonna jump in to say, she's not gonna lie about this.
Okay, fair.
In some areas.
Yeah, but I mean, look.
She's being much more honest than the rest of them about this.
No question. And so for all the things that we disagree with her on, she's not lying about them either, right? She's saying, this is my position, and I go, okay, I don't agree with that position. So it's not like she's trying to hide it. So I'm not saying she doesn't do any lies. She's a politician. Okay, come on, guys. And all the people I like on our side also are not perfect in that category. But anyways, truth is broken out in an unexpected way.
Yeah.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.